handful of Trump critics on the ballot this year that Trump is also targeting for defeat. There's that small camp of Republicans who voted for impeachment that Trump would love to see beaten. That includes people like Congresswoman Liz Cheney in Wyoming, Senator Lisa Murkowski in Alaska. They're going to face primaries later this summer. Trump just announced he's headed to Wyoming in a few weeks to campaign against Cheney. He's also really focused on Republican officials who refused his efforts in their states to fraudulently overturn the 2020 presidential election. I think the best example of that is down in Georgia. It has a primary later this month as well. Trump's endorsed former Senator David Perdue. He's running against incumbent Republican Governor Brian Kemp. Trump's also backing former Congressman Jody Hice against Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. Both incumbents very famously rejected Trump's efforts to overturn Georgia's results. You know, in Kemp's case, it's an example of where Trump's endorsement hasn't really moved the needle. Kemp's in a pretty good position to win his primary, despite years-long efforts by Trump to undermine him. But he's probably more an outlier than the norm in this election climate. Trump's attacks could also undermine the party, though, in the big picture in states like Georgia come November. If he keeps these attacks up against Kemp, if he's the nominee, it could really affect Republican turnout, and that is certainly what Democrats would like to see happen.
So that's why they're leaving Trump around, to ruin the Republican Party.
Of Trump's influence over the party, or even as
pretty naive, pretty Hillary-esque.
One of the most important things
is that
a candidate being on the ballot is treated very differently by voters than someone endorsed by that candidate. Think back to former President Barack Obama in the midterm elections where he endorsed a ton of candidates, and Democrats just got absolutely shellacked in the 2010 midterms. But Obama went on to win re-election 2 years later when he was the one on the ballot. So it's important not to read too much into what it might mean if Trump's endorsement scorecard in the end isn't filled with victories, especially if a lot of these candidates are pro-Trump anyway. One other key dynamic we've talked about and always worth mentioning, nearly all of the Republican candidates that Trump is backing have actively supported or at least don't contradict Trump's ongoing false claims about the 2020 election. So there is a very good chance that there's going to be a considerable number of election deniers on the ballot this fall.
That's NPR congressional correspondent Susan
running
Davis.
Elections against democracy
in many
itself.
states around the country, there
trying
is
to get
no
elected
minimum age
to
for
destroy
arrests.
democracy.
Some states do
That's
have age
Putin's
limits,
plan.
but even there, children as young as 7 can be arrested and prosecuted. Now, as NPR's Cheryl Corley reports, there's a growing push to reform the juvenile justice system by raising the minimum age for arrests.
It's been a trying time over the last 2.5 years.